Remember when Panera was everyone's favorite lunch spot? Once the crown jewel of fast casual dining, it was the go-to for cozy soups and clean ingredients. But lately, something has changed. Once packed cafes now sit half empty, from rising prices and stale bread to soft drinks that should come with a health warning. Loyal fans have had enough and they're walking away. So, what happened? On today's episode of The Infographic Show, we're revealing why no one eats at Panera Bread anymore. If it seems like Panera Bread is everywhere, you're not wrong. The first chain opened in 1987, making it younger than many of the millennials who turned it into a hit. Today it has over 2,000 locations, even more impressive because it only exists in 2 countries, the United States and Canada. Part of the reason it's a big hit is because its menu feels lighter than others, making it ideal if you don't want to go into a calorie crash when you get back to work. And it's come a long way since the beginning. Founded in 1987 by Ken and Linda Rosenthal, Panera began its life as the St. Louis Bread Company in Missouri. The spark for this unique place began when Ken visited a legendary sourdough bread-based bakery and cafe in San Francisco with his brother and fell in love with the process of making sourdough bread. Ken had a dream, and after a year of interning under a sourdough master, he and Linda invested $150,000 of their own money and doubled it with a small business administration loan. And they would succeed beyond their wildest dreams. During the early years, Panera was heavily focused on bread and became known for its selection of bakery offerings. It didn't look much like the Panera we know today, but it quickly gained a cult reputation in the area. The idea of a chain focusing on fresh bread had its appeal. Many people only got their bread at the grocery store, and the company that would be Panera had longer hours than many artisanal bakeries as a growing chain. But if you're wondering why you have never heard the names Ken and Linda Rosenthal, the founders of this massive chain, don't even have Wikipedia pages, there is a reason. Because the first big twist in Panera's tale was coming. The St. Louis Bread Company was only an independent business for 6 years before its reputation quickly gained it some attention. And in 1993, it was snapped up by Au Bon Pain Co. for $23 million. The Rosenthals cashed out and retired rich, leaving the company's future in the hands of one of the biggest names in airport dining, a well-known bakery and breakfast chain. At one point, this company was the way most people were introduced to French pastries, and they saw an opportunity to make inroads into the American breakfast market. Only 4 years later, they would change the company's name to Panera, rooted in the Latin word for breadbasket. Ironically, Au Bon Pain is now down to only 34 locations, just over 1% of what Panera has around North America. But Panera's strange journey was just beginning. The Au Bon Pain era is largely considered to be when Panera established its brand for the general public. It kept its focus on fresh baked bread, but it added menu items including soups and sandwiches, making it more of a mainstay for lunch instead of a place to pick up a loaf. This was also the period when the company introduced arguably its most iconic item, the bread bowl, which scooped out the center of the sourdough loaf and filled it with the soup of your choice. It all helped to contribute to a massive expansion for the company, just in time for another shakeup. Panera was so successful that its parent company actually sold off the original Au Bon Pain chain in 1999 so it could focus on Panera, and expanded rapidly from there. The company purchased the Paradise Bakery and Cafe chain based in Arizona in 2007 and eventually rebranded all of those cafes as Paneras. It then expanded into Canada in 2008 with locations in the Toronto metro area. It would cross the 2,000 locations mark in 2016, and a year later it reacquired Au Bon Pain as an intriguing example of the student becoming the master. Around the same time, the entire chain was bought by JAB Holding Company, a massive German conglomerate that still owns it today. It had been a long, strange road, and the Rosenthals likely wouldn't recognize their little bakery. The final traces of what was once the St. Louis Bread Company is fading away. The Missouri locations that kept the original name will rebrand as they're remodeled. Today, Panera's 2,000-plus locations are split between their usual standalone cafes and a bunch of mall spots, smaller, tighter spaces that sometimes come with trimmed-down menus. It's all a part of an evolution that took the company from a humble bakery to a wildly popular fast food chain. And the one thing a fast food place needs more than any other is a good brand. Panera always had a reputation as a healthier option in the fast food world, whether that actually matches up with the calorie counts or not. It's about the vibes, and the company leaned into its wholesome reputation. In 2017, it announced that it was removing all artificial colors, flavors, sweeteners, and preservatives from their menu. They doubled down on that strategy in 2018 when they formed a new consulting business to advise other businesses on how to craft a more natural menu. This was a big part of their company's success, with Panera's die-hard fans feeling a little more virtuous as they dug into their massive bread bowl filled with mac and cheese. Because in the end, fast food is fast food. Panera had a dedicated fan base thanks to its wholesome homemade reputation, but none of that would matter if it didn't taste good. For a long time, Panera hit the right mark for a place that serves real food that you can feel comfortable eating regularly, but is also just rich and indulgent enough to be satisfying. And the company is still as big as it ever was, so why do so many people think it might be on its last legs? Today, if you talk to Panera diners, you're likely to get the same response. It's just not what it used to be. People talk about a sharp drop in food quality, rising prices, and a shift that's made Panera feel more like a generic fast food chain than a unique, healthier option that it once was. And sure, there will always be some haters, but this many all at the same time? If there is a business decline, it's not showing in the stock market. The company is trading at around $3.15 a share and has been incredibly consistent since April 2025. But that doesn't mean its continued success is guaranteed. Because to be successful, a company needs happy customers. Panera might be trying to be a healthier, more wholesome fast food chain, but they are just like the others in one way. A lot of people say it's not a great place to work. Fast food jobs are often geared toward rookie workers or those who need any type of job, but those workers still have protection. And in 2009 and 2011, Panera came under fire for violating California labor law by failing to pay overtime or in some cases to pay employees on time at all. Panera denied any wrongdoing but chose to pay out a $5 million settlement rather than go to court. The company took another black eye in 2011 when an ex-worker filed a suit accusing the company of being racist, arguing that they moved him from the cash register to the back of the store. He alleged that they wanted pretty young girls working the register rather than a black man. He was fired after requesting an extension of his sick leave, and Panera eventually settled that lawsuit as well. But it's not just the employees who have complaints. Panera used to have a reputation for excellent service, but that might not be the case anymore. The company has had several major issues lately with unhappy customers. In 2016, a lawsuit claimed that a Massachusetts store had deliberately tainted a man's sandwich with peanut butter after he warned them he was allergic. The man was hospitalized briefly and argued that he suffered emotional distress, assault, and battery. The lawsuit was settled for an undisclosed sum, continuing Panera's pattern of avoiding going to court. But sometimes enemies don't want money, they want to make a point. The lawsuits have kept coming for Panera, and more troubling, some of their opponents have been preparing for a long time and have all the receipts. In 2017, Panera got slapped with a class action over unpaid overtime, and by 2024, they were settling another, this one accusing them of lowballing delivery fees on their own website. Like so many other lawsuits, the company didn't mind paying out settlements if they didn't have to admit fault. But none of these suits came for the heart of Panera's business plan. Brianna Tabler was a California Panera fan, or at least she was. In 2019, she filed the most distressing claim against Panera yet, arguing that they weren't truly free of artificial ingredients. The source of this complaint was the presence of trace amounts of the synthetic herbicide glyphosate, which is used to protect grains that go into the bread. If this lawsuit seems like a stretch, the judge agreed, dismissing the suit the same year. While Tabler filed an amended complaint not long after, she gave up the ghost eventually, leaving Panera with all of its money, but increased doubts among people about how healthy its food actually was. But hey, at least no one died, right? Most of these lawsuits stayed out of the news, and that's the most important thing for Panera. After all, a fast food company's biggest asset is its brand, and the average diner doesn't care about arguments over overtime. It does care when people wind up dead, and that's exactly what happened in 2022. Panera had just announced one of its most buzz-worthy items in years, in more ways than one: their charged lemonade drinks. The latest addition to their Starbucks-like drink menu packed up to 260 milligrams of caffeine, the equivalent of 4 espresso shots. It was advertised as a tasty alternative to coffee, geared towards students pulling an all-nighter or gamers doing a marathon stream. But instead, it became a PR nightmare. On September 10, 2022, the new drink claimed its first victim, Sarah Katz, a 21-year-old college student. She suffered from a syndrome that could cause an irregular heartbeat and had a heart attack not long after drinking it. Her parents sued Panera the following year, and while Panera denied any wrongdoing, they did agree to add new labeling emphasizing the high caffeine content. It might have ended there, until 2 months later 46-year-old Dennis Brown also died after drinking it. Brown also had a host of medical conditions, and in neither case was the death attributed to the drink, but the damage was done. Countless people posted on social media about having strange symptoms after drinking it, giving birth to the nickname the lemonade that kills you. Panera reduced the caffeine content after Brown's death, and by 2024 eliminated it entirely. It was a PR nightmare, but not the source of Panera's struggles. Increasingly, people are saying Panera just isn't good anymore. Now, granted, this isn't a death blow for a fast food chain. McDonald's and White Castle have been the butt of jokes for years about their quality. Taco Bell has a whole meme about the gastrointestinal distress it causes. They're not supposed to be fine dining, but they're supposed to be satisfying when you need something fast and cheap. As long as a fast food place is offering something comforting at a reasonable price, people will be forgiving. But is that price reasonable? Is it really? One of the most persistent complaints about Panera in recent years is that the price has skyrocketed, to which defenders would likely say everything has. And that is true. Fast food prices are one of the most obvious indicators of inflation. And it's all over the place. Even the regularly cheap White Castle has seen many of its combo meals crop up to the over $10 line. But it's more obvious at Panera than anywhere else. Panera was always on the high end of fast food prices due to its emphasis on fresh ingredients and seasonal dishes. But now, Panera's breakfast sandwiches hover around the $7 mark in New Jersey. Bagels are over $2 plain, and specialty drinks can be over $5. It gets even more glaring at lunch, with the salad, sandwiches, and bread bowl soups all approaching the $10 mark. It's not a cheap meal anymore, but it might be worth it if it was as good as it used to be. But in many cases, people are walking away without bread in more ways than one. At the start, Panera's biggest selling point was the baked goods. It was a bakery more than it was a restaurant. It had a wide variety of traditional items in both individual and family sizes. The baguettes, sesame semolina bread, and of course the famous sourdough were all standbys, and were the wholesome canvas for the sandwiches and bread bowl soups. But if you go into a Panera today, you might not see a bread counter at all. In many Panera cafes, the only bread served is the sandwich loaves, and these aren't what they used to be, because Panera isn't really in the bread business anymore. For decades, each Panera baked its own bread daily. This meant longer hours and more manpower required, but it paid off in flavor. But the company eventually pivoted to fresh dough facilities that could supply the bread to its individual cafes, specializing in larger production for very little decline in quality. However, even that wasn't sustainable, and now the company has shuttered its last fresh dough locations and instead relies on frozen, partially baked bread that most people say is simply mediocre. And if Panera isn't about the bread, what is it about? Panera's reputation as a place serving healthy alternatives to fast food has also been somewhat compromised in recent years. While it still boasts being free of certain artificial ingredients, that list has been getting smaller in recent years. Eagle-eyed Panera fans have noticed that the company has removed promises to be hormone-free and antibiotic-free from its meats. It's promoting its promises less, and its menu has started trending away from being healthy and more toward being indulgent, offering rich options like mac and cheese or a French dip melt. It might taste good, but there's a lot of competition in that lane. But don't worry, it might not fill you up. Panera has gained a reputation in recent years for being one of the worst buys in fast food, because while the prices have gone up, the portion sizes have actually gone down. The restaurant has become known for light dining, maybe too light. Sandwich meat is paper thin, soup cups seem to be shallower than ever, and if you ordered a bread bowl, you might be lucky to get a thin cup of soup being sopped up by the bread. Few of the options are filling at Panera anymore, according to frequent visitors, and that's a problem when it's one of the most expensive options out there. And it might be trying to do a little too much. Over the years, Panera has been known for its beloved seasonal menus, offering sandwiches, salads, and soups suited to the weather. But at times, this hasn't worked out. The company's broth bowls, a heavier vegetable and carb-packed soup served in a light broth, never really caught on, and even drew criticism for offering an inauthentic taste on Japanese soba noodles. This was eventually taken off the menu as Panera streamlined their offerings along with many other options. And that's not the only area where people feel it's losing the plot. Panera has taken a lot of heat from its fans in recent years, as it hasn't just cut their menu offerings, it's cut staff and a lot of amenities. That's meant longer waits to order and to get food. irregular delivery options, and being rerouted to annoying automatic messages when trying to get customer service over the phone. These problems have cropped up across the board for fast food, especially since COVID, but Panera fans are less forgiving, given that the company is seen as a more prestigious option. Additionally, many locations have been doing away with or limiting seating, turning it into more of a place to order from a kiosk, grab your food, and get out. And that digital-first approach may have had unintended consequences. Panera was no stranger to lawsuits, but it rarely admitted fault of any kind. That wasn't the case in 2024, when it was hit with a massive data breach scandal. The information of its employees and app customers was leaked, including sensitive data. This was a major black eye for the company and resulted in a $2.5 million settlement. This may have ended the suit, but the damage to Panera's reputation is ongoing and continued to make people feel like the company was on an ongoing downslide, especially since the competition is only getting stiffer. When Panera debuted on the scene, it was a breath of fresh air and a bite of fresh food. The company's emphasis on natural ingredients and simple, low-fat dishes was unique. But today, you can find many choices like that much more easily. Chains like Sweet Green and Salad Works are mainstays at mall food courts and city streets. They offer people a simple lunch break option that can be transported back to the office with ease. And while many of these options don't have as many varieties as Panera, they tend to offer bigger portions. Additionally, restaurants like Chipotle and Cava are also honing in on Panera's market share with customizable bowl options that pack a lot of flavor. As the fast casual sector explodes, Panera's market position will only get more perilous, and its new ownership might not be helping. Private equity has been the death of many a company as the massive mega corporations leverage their new acquisition, cut costs heavily, and eventually unload or shutter the company if it fails to turn a profit. That usually happens to companies that are purchased at a low point, which Panera wasn't. But that doesn't mean the company is safe. Its current owners, the German conglomerate JAB, are notorious cost cutters, and their focus on efficiency and money saving are seen as responsible for many of the problems facing Panera now. Fans aren't happy, but ownership may only be looking at the bottom line, and that is taking a toll around the country. Is Panera actually dying? The answer is probably not yet. There are few companies that are truly too big to fail in the food world, but Panera might be pretty close. With over 2,000 locations, going out of business entirely would shake loose countless jobs and devastate the fast casual sector. But it is possible that it's already reached its highest point and peak Panera is behind us. There are several examples of this. The shuttering of the fresh dough facilities already costs significant job losses. Additionally, many locations where there are multiple locations in a small distance have seen some close. And as business slows in malls, those food court Panera kiosks may be among the most endangered locations. So, is there any hope for bread bowl devotees? Panera has already done something that few chains in the United States have managed to do: become a household name. It's by far the most famous chain in the country for fast casual soups and salads, probably only behind Subway when it comes to sandwiches. Its rise was meteoric, but that means expectations were too, and it's taking a hard hit as its quality slips and its prices keep rising. The management needs to find a way to get people talking about its menu again in a positive way and win back longtime fans. But that might be easier said than done. Panera is running into problems at a time when people have less money to spend than they did in past years, and when all of the internet knows about your every slip-up. The company's mistakes have been broadcast everywhere, and the bad PR is likely to last even if the company starts turning things around. While many fans have suggestions for ways to bring the company back to its former glory, it's easy to lose people and it's hard to win them back. But hey, at least the company isn't selling death lemonade anymore. Panera is declining fast. But are the Golden Arches what they used to be? Check out the real reason McDonald's is failing, or watch this video instead.